At a family dinner, my mother was laughing, my father raised his glass, and my sister's kids were all on their phones while we were talking. As soon as my daughter glanced at her phone, my mother stood up, slapped her hard across the face, and snatched the phone saying, "Doesn't your little brat have any manners? How dare she disrespect us during a family reunion?" My sister snorted, "I wonder what kind of terrible, worthless mother she became to raise such a brat." Dad laughed cruelly. When I confronted her, she sneered viciously, "Like always, you don't know when to shut your pathetic mouth." She turned to Dad, "I told you I didn't want this failure here, she always causes drama and ruins everything." I didn't panic or argue. I stayed perfectly calm and made one quiet phone call. 25 minutes later, my parents went into complete panic. I should have known better than to accept the invitation. But when my mother called 2 weeks ago, her voice dripping with that familiar false sweetness, insisting we needed to have a proper family reunion at their house, something in me hoped things might be different this time. Foolish, really. After 32 years of life, you'd think I'd have learned that leopards don't change their spots, especially when those leopards are your own parents. My name is Diane, and I've been the family scapegoat for as long as I can remember. While my younger sister Tara was the golden child who could do no wrong, I was always the disappointment, the failure, the one who never quite measured up to their impossible standards. Even now, despite having built a successful career as a pediatric nurse, owning my own home, and raising an incredible daughter as a single mother, I was still treated like the family's biggest mistake. The dinner was scheduled for 6 p.m. on a Saturday evening. I spent the entire afternoon debating whether to cancel, but my 15-year-old daughter Chloe convinced me we should go. "Mom, maybe Grandma and Grandpa have changed," she said with the optimism that only teenagers possess. "Besides, I haven't seen my cousins in months. Chloe was such a good kid. Honor roll student, volunteer at the local animal shelter, respectful and kind to everyone she met. She'd been asking to see her grandparents more often lately, and despite my better judgment, I couldn't bring myself to completely cut her off from that side of the family. Maybe that was my mistake." We arrived at my parents' house at exactly 6 p.m. The familiar smell of my mother's pot roast filled the air, and for a moment, I allowed myself to feel nostalgic. The dining room table was set with my mother's good china, the same pattern she'd had since I was a child. Tara was already there with her husband Sean and their 3 kids, 13-year-old Tyler, 11-year-old Lila, and 9-year-old Zane. "Diane." My mother, Evelyn, exclaimed as we walked in, giving me one of her theatrical hugs that felt as warm as a snake's embrace. "And Chloe, look how you've grown." She barely glanced at my daughter before turning her attention back to Tara's family. My father, Robert, was in his usual spot at the head of the table, already working on what appeared to be his second glass of wine. He gave me a curt nod, the kind of acknowledgement you might give a stranger. Well, look what the cat dragged in," Tara said with a smirk, not even bothering to get up from her chair. "I wasn't sure you'd actually show up. Thought you might have found some excuse